Okay. Good morning. Actually recording this, everybody. I'm recording this on Saturday, getting ahead of the game a little bit. Got a holiday weekend Monday. If you're fortunate enough to be working somewhere that observes that holiday and the contributions of Dr. Martin Luther King. So I'm gonna have this ready to post on Monday, but hopefully everybody will not get to it till Tuesday and enjoy the holiday in whatever way you celebrate. So, this lecture number three, week number three, we are on our way and actually approaching half. We're halfway to the residency. I don't particularly like having the residency so early in the semester, but that is what's scheduled. So I'll talk about that a little bit this morning as well. So we'll go ahead and get started talking about big data in healthcare. That's uh, one of um, uh, the major sources of big data in a particular domain, as you saw in your your first paper for this course. Smart cities also generate an enormous amount of data from cameras and sensors and command and control systems and uh, traffic control systems, fuel controls, utilities, just an enormous amount of data. A lot of folks are moving to native, cloud native big data applications. But um, anyway, we'll talk about healthcare a little bit and get into the discussion. There's four particular challenges, one of which you will examine in class discussion this week. Um, okay. Yeah, so we'll talk a little bit about big data in healthcare. Most of the information that you'll be getting will be from our reading this week and independent research. And I know some of you are in healthcare analytics, so hopefully you'll be willing to share your professional observations and lessons learned and opinions in class discussion um, this week. We'll go over the requirements for the discussion. I wanted to talk a little bit about your dissertation. Some of you are just getting started. So I want to do a slide that talks a little bit more about, the foundations of the program. Although you'll see in virtually every week some sort of preparatory material where, like Dr. Brown, our department chair, um, will um, will give you some pointers on choosing a problem area. Um, then there's always library guides and things like that. But I'm gonna pick a few topics here and there, and I'll sprinkle in generic dissertation preparation information throughout the course, along with the required data science and blockchain topics, and then we'll conclude. I'm gonna go ahead and post two additional videos that I shared as announcements and or emails. It's a one is a demonstration of bibliographic software. If you are not currently using RefWorks or EndNote or any of those, or even a built-in capability, uh, if you're not using some sort of bibliographic software, you're probably spending more time than necessary. And when it comes time to write your dissertation, uh, you 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 could fail. It's just too many references to manage and refer to and get the syntax correct and get the citation correct without bibliographic software. And I'm gonna you'll see I posted my EndNote demonstration, where I also give some tips on paraphrasing, um, and my how to write academically like a software engineer, academic writing for systems engineers. Um, so anyway, some supplemental material this week. Okay, so healthcare analytics, as you'll learn about in the reading and in your independent study this week, um, there are massive sources of data in the big data world. Electronic health records brought up. They bring everyone's lab results and MRIs, which you know CT scans, those sorts of things, diagnostic imagery. Um, Sometimes people will have a home monitoring device. There's data being downloaded from uh, um, pacemakers and uh, blood glucose level monitors and just sleep study data, where you go home with a device and it records data from your sleeping at night. There's just an enormous amount of data now going into EHR, but electronic health records, they're great. They reduce transcription errors. What you see is what you get. If the data is put incorrectly, it will stay correct, as opposed to old paper charts, which were always problematic trying to read the doctor's writing. Um, Electronic health records provide a standard to share data between your family physician and practitioners. It provides a common data dictionary, for lack of a better word, or at least data framework for analysis of health trends. There's uh, great benefits, like I said, information sharing between um, individual practices and in between the major healthcare organizations, the HMOs and the healthcare providers, the Advent Healths, of the world, um, and the government, uh, or other entities that are nonprofit, non-governmental organizations that are analyzing that data. And it's different from electronic medical records. EMRs are just scanned versions of paper, where EHR is actually an attempt at a unified database um, that will follow a patient, a person for the rest of their life. Um, yeah, like I said, another major portion of healthcare analytics is real-time patient monitoring, um, which allows them, um, practitioners, doctors, to track blood pressure or blood glucose or your heart or any particular. They're increasing the devices that can provide patient monitoring all the time, and it avoids you from having to go into the hospital. Um, I've got a family member with a pacemaker, and there's a device that uses, I'm pretty sure it's near field communications, NFC, to pull data off of the pacemaker and send it into the doctor, so that you don't have to go in. The patient doesn't have to go into the hospital and have it downloaded there, or worse, go to the hospital just to be monitored. That whole, well, we're going to keep you overnight for observation. Well, these telemedicine and patient monitoring systems can be an alternative to that, but they generate a lot of data that's got to be handled and managed and stored and protected, and um, which leads us to the next bullet, which is the privacy concerns. um, you will analyze concerns, challenges in any one of four areas this week. Um, privacy concerns are epic. Um, um, because if your privacy is violated, bad things can happen. There can be an embarrassment. I mean, you, you you may have some sort of disease that you don't necessarily want everyone to know. There's privacy concerns between practitioners and insurance companies or employers. Storing that data and making it freely available to provide you good care is being balanced with um, your your need for privacy, which of course everyone knows the healthcare world is, especially information systems world, is ruled by HIPAA, the Healthcare Insurance Portability and Privacy Act. Did I get that right? Shoot me an email if I got that wrong. HIPAA. Um, I actually have a friend, a colleague that uh, thought he was doing the right thing as an administrator, not a practitioner. Thought he was doing the right thing, accessing a patient's healthcare record, and was admonished because by the letter of the law, he did not have a need for that patient data. So he was asked to resign in lieu of being fired for accessing data. And I mean, he had a need to know. He was doing the right thing. He was doing it for work, not for anything illegal or nefarious. But the letter of the law in HIPAA is something. Now, if you guys have personal experience working within the HIPAA, try and work that into your response. Okay. Any of these concerns that you deal with, I don't work in healthcare. I work in training and education. So if you work with HIPAA data or healthcare analytics at all, please respond to the discussion question, but share what you know. Share your expertise with the class, which will really add value to the course. Okay, and then there's kind of hand in hand with the privacy concerns are the ethics of healthcare information. There's a significant amount of concern that all of these genetic testing tests that they're coming up with to show whether you carry the gene that causes something. I'm trying to think of like cystic fibrosis is a lung disease that I know is genetic. Some diseases they're trying to come up with a definitive genetic test for like dementia, for different forms of dementia, and whether or not you are genetically predisposed to developing that condition. Well, there's a big concern right there. I mean, if we're going to continue with the traditional risk management approach to insurance, of course, the insurance companies are going to want to know who's genetically predisposed to diseases and who's not. Um, so there's and the debate is that ethical? Is it ethical for someone to have that held against them? It's just a lot of social debate when it comes to healthcare, of course, and then of course businesses using either healthcare uh, information from your past. If you admitted that you used tobacco or that you abused alcohol or you abused prescription drugs or anything like that, that could be used in a hiring decision. So this is very, very sensitive data from a technical standpoint and from a sociological, uh, societal standpoint. So lots to talk about for the discussion, which this in previous semesters, the instructions were to pick were to describe challenges in all four of these, in all four of data gathering, storage and integration, data analysis, and knowledge discovery and information interpretation. Um, and now you only choose one of these. Okay. Uh, so these look at this as kind of like pro and con. You will list benefits and challenges associated with one of these four. So the benefits of data gathering are that as we all know, the more data you have, the more reliable um, your analysis is. But the challenge of gathering more data is the potential of is cost, those sorts of things. So use the literature, guys. You're going to have to, whatever you say that are the benefits or challenges of any of these four, you need to back that up with a reference or two, and not just something that has a title that sounds right, actually read some articles and make sure that one of the bottom line concepts in that article is that supports your point. Um, it's not just some keywords that match. Anyway, so there's your four areas: data gathering, benefits and challenges of storage, and integrating raw storage itself of big data. Has its own challenges. Um, Getting it all into one schema. That's what's good about Hadoop is being able to um, decompose a big data analysis across multiple copies of the same data. But then you've got the problem of uh, integrating data in different systems, different formats. So you can address the benefits and challenges of that. The next one, data analysis. Of course, what's the benefit of analyzing data? I mean, think about it. That is so straightforward. uh, what's the benefit of data analysis? What are the challenges? There's different approaches to the analysis. There's um, different tools. There's the cost of the data scientist, the cost of the infrastructure to integrate that data uh, um, into an analysis stream. So, and then knowledge discovery and information interpretation. I don't remember a whole lot of people choosing that. So hopefully someone will be brave and choose knowledge discovery and information interpretation, which is really more about like data mining, where you look for uh, either clustering um, or you know heretofore unknown relationships between the data, correlations. Um, so there you go. Benefits and challenges of one of those four things, but you only need to do one. So don't do all four. There are materials out there, which I'll talk about in another slide here, that will cover all four. Um, but please don't go into depth in one. Don't um, don't just give a sentence or two on all four. All right, go into depth on one of those. Um, and in your discussion, this is just generally speaking, please use headers. So like this time we've got um, you know your overview of which of the four that you chose, and then you've got benefits, and then you've got challenges. So you could have three headers, then you could even have a conclusion header. But instead of just posting giant blocks of text, make sure that your headers in your papers and in class discussion make it easy for everyone to see what you're talking about and when. They're just a great aid to organization. Um, there's a few articles in the required reading, but you're going to need more than that. You're going to need to go well beyond that. There's thousands of um, articles out there on healthcare analytics. In the discussion, would you please stop using the "Hey, great post. I want to add a few points," and then just lecturing, just blah 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 to your fellow student. Please, I am begging you. It's going to be a long semester. Um, I gave some zeros for that. No one wants to read you regurgitating something from the internet or a textbook, and adding a few points. This is a discussion, guys. This is a discussion. Discuss the topic with each other. Share what you know. Share what you think. Ask questions. Hey, I was looking for an article on this and I couldn't find one. Where'd you find that? How did you come to that conclusion? Challenge each other. There were some posts that were absolute nonsense, and people would respond and say, "Good post." Well, no, it wasn't. It was absolute nonsense, and yet you're not challenging each other. Um, as professionals, the definition of a profession is that it is self-policing. Um, so I would ask for you all to take a professional view of the classroom and um, make sure you're adding value in these class discussions. Not too much to ask. It's just a different mindset. It's actually, you should look for value in the class discussion, and not just be checking a block. Okay. Um, and I'll maintain that you can probably pass this course without really doing much of anything in the class discussion, but you probably won't get the grade that you're looking for. Okay, enough said about that. Okay, so dissertation foundations. One thing that I did not realize when I started um, my doctoral program, I guess I started it 5 years ago now, and I was with Colorado Technical University, and they have a scenario where you don't attend um, residencies for each class, but you have to attend 4 symposia, which are offered 4 times a year. Uh, um, you have to attend 4 within your completing your degree. So I finished mine in the 3 year period. So I had 12 symposia to choose from, and I went to 4 of them. Um, and at my very first symposia that I went to when I started, luckily, it was literally a couple of weeks into the program. I mean, in a couple of weeks into my very first semester, and I learned that the doctoral program isn't just an advanced degree. It's not just another master's degree. It is to teach you to be a researcher within a given problem area, within a given functional area. And you are getting PhD in IT. So you as PhDs in information technology will be adding to the body of knowledge using any number of research methods. But you need to think about this program and think about yourself and think like a researcher. You need to be uh, critical of research projects. We're studies, like just like we've all seen discussed in the popular press now. The studies uh, um, on the COVID vaccines, and how those studies are set up. You've got control groups and experimental groups, and you've got null hypothesis and alternative hypotheses. You've got quantitative data, qualitative data. So you need to understand what an original research project is when, and that leads into my second bullet. When you are reading the literature, not every article is a research article. Many of them are not. Many articles, many journal articles are not original research. Um, and the word research gets used um, to mean quite a few things. You know, a research paper could be something that you write for your master's degree, where you just go out and read and you just report the results of your reading. That's a research paper, right? But it but it's not really a research project um, if you're not going out and collecting data. A true original research project collects data in some form, either quantitative or qualitative, and answers a research question. So, uh, you, you know, I hope that you are starting to think this way, starting to look into what makes a good dissertation, starting to look into what makes a good research project for a dissertation. What are the foundations of a dissertation in the form of a problem area, a research question, the purpose statement. So it's important that you guys get into the literature. You understand what you're reading. If something is a literature review, or it's proposing a framework for something, proposing a theoretical, it could be a grounded theory paper that's trying to develop a theory of some sort of phenomenon, some sort of behavior. Um, or it could be, no kidding, a research project. What, that answers a very narrow question. Um, what is the effect of texting on pedestrian traffic? And they could design an experiment where they make people read and write texts while they're walking down the sidewalk, and they can observe if they run into anything, or you know what I mean. That there's truly original research projects being done out there, and different methodologies to go about those research projects. So that's that third bullet: familiarize yourself with research methods. And there are, you know, untold thousands of papers and books out there that you can get to through the library and through Google Scholar, um, to start to understand what it means to have a research methodology. Um, Qualitative and quantitative are the two big traditions, but within qualitative and quantitative, you have different approaches. Um, you need to understand what a research question is. It's not a detailed survey question. It is the overarching question you're trying to answer. Like I said, what is the effect on a pedestrian of texting while walking? You know, you could the what are the effects? Your findings to answer that research question could be: it's dangerous. They walk out in front of traffic. They don't observe what's going on around them. They miss out on social interaction because their friend walked by and they're staring at their phone. I mean, you don't know. So that's where it comes. As you get into the literature and you start to read articles that are related to the problem that you think you want to, the research area you want to address, you'll start to see these research questions and these methods, and you'll see different types of literature cited within these studies. Um, a really good thing for you to be collecting is dissertations, written by, in the last 2-3 years, um, in your prospective problem area. And you can see what the student went through to get through their dissertation. There are dissertations mostly follow along a couple of different lines, but most of them are the results of a research project, like mine. Like I showed you guys my dissertation. And then finally, the last bullet is being able to define a problem and I want to use the word justify a problem using the literature. You can't say, enterprise resource planning systems are difficult to implement. You can't say that. You can't without quoting uh, some other authors that have standing, that are PhDs out there that have written that. Um, and the best way to define a problem is to use an article that focused tightly on your problem or an area of your problem, right? They didn't just mention it in passing as part of their article. Like, if you were gonna write your dissertation and one of the things you wanted to say was that enterprise resource planning systems are difficult to implement, you would want to cite an article that was a case study of an ERP implementation or something that its bottom line findings were spelling out the difficulties involved in implementing ERP. See, so it's important to use credible resources um, whose main topic backs up your point, not just a few keywords here and there, and you just stick in a citation randomly. Anybody can do that, and it's embarrassing when you catch it. I haven't graded any papers for this week yet. I hope I won't see what is obviously just filling the square. If you go into my dissertation, um, you'll see if you pull up the article I cited, you'll see that it's a prominent thought. If I used it as a reference, whatever point I was making as I was telling my story, leading my reader along through the story, you'll see that the references I cited um, that was a major concept of that paper. Most of the time, I think every once in a while you got to just define a term or justify something that's fairly common knowledge. But anyway, so think like a researcher. Don't think like a practitioner. Don't think like just a technical expert at work anymore. I mean, you are that. You are a practitioner, but um, the PhD really is a researcher and proving proving it by the data. What's the data say? As we are in a course on data analysis. All right. Uh, did want to mention one thing, and that's cheat sites. I found some stuff from just this last semester already out there for people on good old Course Hero. And actually, the count was up from 82. This screenshot I did last semester was 82 is up to 113, I think, today for ITS836 at the University of the Cumberlands. And it's just a shame. I mean, if you got to rely on these sites to get your PhD, um, you will be the kind of doctor that people whisper about. Um, that guy's got a PhD. Okay, I wonder from what university. Because you won't know anything, you won't learn anything, and you won't be able to write, you won't be able to justify a position. Um, but if you take it seriously and you do your own work and you avoid these spots, these sites, it's fantastic. You'll do wonderfully. So please, I encourage you to avoid using anyone else's work at all. Start from a clean slate, and your product will always be better. Okay, so there you go. In conclusion, you know, big data and healthcare analytics. Yeah, it's exploding. It's its own uh, domain within a domain within a domain, and it it shows huge progress. If you could assemble all the data that we have out there on people, all the tests that have been done. If you could monitor their overall health and their lab results and correlate the lab results from how many billions of people are on the planet now with access to modern healthcare, if you could assemble all that data and analyze it, just think of what innovations um, you could come up with. But as you will discuss this week, a lot of challenges there. So when you're writing, start with an outline. Please watch my uh, academic writing for systems engineers video. Um, Start with an outline and write every word originally. Um, Most of us can see when you are kind of assembling a response from something else that doesn't really have anything to do with the topic. It's kind of silly looking. So start with an outline and write every word yourself. The key to all of this is studying your topic enough to write about it. If you can't explain it in professional but conversational language, then you need to read more. That's all there is to it. And as I said, coming up in 2 weeks, be ready to devote uh, really the vast majority of your weekend, particularly all day Saturday, to developing a group project and presentation coming up the weekend of the 19th through the 21st. And I've gotten one email from, I have 20 students between both sections. I think I got one email. So I'm out here. I'm ready to help, but um, you gotta you gotta send me an email. I can't read mine. Okay. I hope everybody enjoys your Martin Luther King Day weekend, and I will see you in class discussion.